Upon further reflection, I thought I would sort of start off my small dissertation today. Hello, YouTube friends, with these images by a guy called Alex Gray. By the way, this gives me the absolute EBGBs. Okay, he's a painter, New York somewhere, and very successful, I think. I mean, look at this, huh? Super duper stuff, huh? It's like the Matrix on steroids. It's fabulous. He's interpreting supposedly spiritual, our spiritual reality of some sort. You know, it's like he's creating. Look at this creepy body. It's like, wow. Okay, interpreting the essence of ourself or something like that in paint and using the paint medium to. Ooh, fucking guy. As I say, EBGBs. Another one, uh, like these kind of representations about stuff. You know, when you get into the, I guess the energy centers in the body and all that, it's real. You know, it's real. But then as we get into, you know, a sort of identifying and materializing some of this, it becomes very problematic. Look how fancy. Let's see what else he's got here. Okay. Oh, eyeballs. Lots of eyeballs. He loves eyeballs. Okay, this looks like a bit of a church thing, right? It's like no different. Okay. You're in some sort of mausoleum kind of feeling church place. Here, oh, always the fucking eyeballs. The eyeballs really piss me off. I don't know why. And then, yin yang hands and all the sort of usual suspects of how to interpret the esoteric reality, the non material nature of ourselves in paint, I guess. So, anyway, well, I'll turn the camera on me now. You get the idea, right? You get the idea. So, anyway, let me put this up here again uh, for my little noodle. I'm going to noodle a bit more. I've been I've been reflecting on some things and adjusting adjusting some of my ideas, I suppose, to some extent. Um, and I was just listening to an interesting dissertation by on a channel, very nice. I called "Lifted Veils." It was Helen Blavatsky's forgotten book on the voice of silence. I love those kind of titles, by the way. The voice of silence, like that juxtaposition, or not. What is that? It's an anomaly. The voice of silence makes no sense. We cannot imagine the voice of silence, like the sounds of silence. Wasn't that? Oh, that's Garfunkel, Simon and Garfunkel. Sounds of silence. Okay, they must have read Blavatsky. They must have read Blavatsky. Anyway, I left a comment on this kind of very synopsized, like less than 20-minute explanation of the nature of our existence as we experience in this reality and all the steps that are required in order to what? Like achieve, there's this sort of thing always behind the esoteric part to achieve some sort of extraordinary level of somethingness. We all want to become extraordinarily something. Always tied to the material world, obviously. If you look this Alex Gray art, esoteric bullshit, it's like always tied to this realm. It's always tied. This is why I so much appreciate what Howdy McCoskey has put on my plate. I knew this. I knew all this, what he's talking about, but not in the words that he was saying. So sometimes we make that leap when we have, when we are able to make a connection through what the mind allows us to understand. I mean, we're limited. We're limited in our ability to understand stuff because the very fabric of understanding using words is limited. It's like, and Blavatsky knew this, and the esoterics and the sort of sages and the people that have come through history have all outlined this, but they always direct it towards some sort of a becoming of some kind. And I wouldn't argue with a becoming from the point of view that uh, you
I become a better person through the experiences or whatever it takes. Am I going to get flogged into becoming a better person, or do I, become coddled into becoming a better person? Whatever the circumstances that that create an environment for us to flourish in the best sense of the word. And I'm not talking materially. I'm just saying that our spirit, this essence within us, is given the freedom to become what it is supposed to become. Because this is, as far as I'm concerned, with my romance with eternity, there is eternity is all possible possibilities. This is also a Kabbalistic idea, which I really like, that there is this uh, level of being part of something that is never fixed, uh, like Kabbalistically, my peace is uncertainty. That idea really fits into the idea that for myself of a becoming. Obviously, the real world presents us with phenomenal challenges, and the esoteric types want to get a leg over in having all these complex ideas. We could spend on each idea probably a lifetime, from meditation to the personal insights, to study, to quiet, to silence, to service, self-service, service, not to self. All the ideas that surround that makes sense, are thrown at us like spitballs on a ceiling. Let's see what sticks, what anybody will be able to pick off the ceiling, or whatever anybody throws at the ceiling will stick. And you say, okay, I'm attached to the Qigong, or this practice or that practice, or whatever you might get really turned on about. I'm not saying don't. I'm just saying that these are all spitballs at the ceilings, and some may work and some don't work, whichever way you choose. But my perception, what I walked away with, felt, when I was just again listening. I've heard of Blavatsky. I've read Blavatsky a long time ago. Maria was really interested in the esoterics, in the theosophists, Annie Besant, Krishnamurti, the people that Krishnamurti actually divorced himself. He separated himself from those guys. Um, Not sure why, because he continued in his own version of them, and he was a charlatan from my point of view, saying all the right things. Again, the sounds of silence, a charlatan saying all the right things. Okay, so my noodling, my reflection on all of this as I was listening to this, and this has been sort of going on inside of me. What many of these spiritual teachings and insights and that kind of encompassing magnificence they appear to have, like the Blavatsky stuff is volumes and volumes of magnificence. You can spend lifetimes on it and interpret and delve into it. Again, another seduction into this reality. That's basically what it appears to be. From where I'm sitting, it again becomes this sort of expectation of making this somehow better. The idea, obviously, like I say, fabulous to be, to have that generosity and kindness, not to be an asshole. I don't want to be an asshole. I mean, if whatever my response might be, where I lose it, I can lose it, but I have a conscience that says, hey, stop losing it. Don't stay within an integrity. What it is that is inherent in each person that has this divine spark and essence within them. Conscience is also very prevalent. And I'm thinking always, this is, every time I listen to possibilities of raising this to the next level, I always come back to this very simple fact that the only thing that separates us from being caught is our own conscience. Now, this has been instilled, and I don't hear anybody really talking about it. It's mentioned, of course, and they don't have to mention it because I think it's like the cherry on top of the icing. I'm just saying this is a reality in my life where I understand now that I can make the right choice. And sometimes it's more difficult than other times. But if I excuse myself of not listening to my conscience, I'm going to be on the wrong path, and I will contribute to this shit show the way it is out there. Now, the comment I left on what's it called, Lifted Veils, was that all this esoteric, what I call hooey, it might be a little bit harsh, but it all, as McCoskey would say, maintains a path or maintains a structure around us that fundamentally still believes that this is basically okay, this place, given the right circumstances and the right tweaking here and there. I mean, big tweaks, not little tweaks, big tweaks. When we tweak it in some form or other, that we become better, and then ultimately, everybody, so many people become better other than the NPs or whatever they're called, those non-human humans. We're not interested in them. So after a while, this critical mass forms of nice guys, and everything begins to fuck up the matrix and change it and all this. Well, I don't think so, because the creators of this shit show uh, are, I cannot imagine, that the complexity of this shit show is somehow going to be altered by the life forms that exist in it, that were thrown into it. This is interesting too. How do we end up here, right? I'm not sure if McCoskey has addressed this. How do we end up? Originally, the divine spark, is it eternal? This is, again, my sense of eternity and existence in that is infinite, right? Like there is no beginning, which is also impossible to comprehend because we are finite beings that are only used to finiteness, not endless infinity stuff. Right? It doesn't work. Even mathematicians who pretend that they can create equations that explain infinity, it's not possible. It's like imagining nothing is not possible, which is why my sort of fancy here would be to refer to eternity and infinity, pretend that I understand, pretend I don't, but I pretend, and I throw it out there just as a kind of knuckle sandwich. It's like you can sort of get punished by it, or you can embrace it. Either, I guess. I'm not sure what I'm saying here. The point is, even with people that have helped me to understand things, when they get into their incredible, complex explanations and thousands of book readings and all that shit, it doesn't really matter. There is a very simple substance to our number one. We need to make the commitment, spiritually, physically, emotionally, to knowing that this is not a great invention. This, what is called creation, is not what it's made out to be, what it's always made out to be in some form or other, whether it's you're on the religious side or whether you're purely on the material side, where you have everything you could possibly want materially. You're getting all the satisfactions you could possibly ever imagine from this worldly, earthly realm, or you're getting all the possible advantages from the spiritual realm while you're here. You see, this throws a real curveball all the time. So I have finally, again, thanks to McCoskey, I have finally understood. I've known this within myself. I must have known this within myself in some way, that this, what is understood to be reality, religions, Catholics called it creation, you know, the biblical idea about the 7 days and all this. This phenomenon, this explanation of what it is that we're experiencing is a flawed, to, to say it mildly, is a flawed event, is something that is, to me, a big mistake from the point of view of my essence or anyone else that recognizes this inner part that is actually outside. Difficult to comprehend this too. We're not used to being outside. No one has ever come back. You go away, you're outside, you have experiences, but you're still here. If I'm talking to you or anyone else, they're still here, no matter how many times they've left, but they're still here. So fuck them. You're still here, right? It's like you end up here, you're stuck. So what I'm saying is all the explanations and all the magnificent wisdoms attached to unraveling this mystery, this complexity of what we're existing in, always, always for me returns to the one thing that will guide my path, which is a conscience. So we're all on a path in some way, whether it's, reading 100,000 books, or whether it's living a certain lifestyle in the country, planting potatoes. I don't care. The point is that on both ends of the spectrum, there's one common factor, which is what binds us into the right path is each individual conscience. I mean, it's so obvious and simple, and it's got nothing to do with being kind and loving and all that. If you have a conscience, you're going to do the right thing. I don't know why that is. People write novels and books about it. Yeah, go ahead and dissect it and understand it, and go to the pyramids or go to the mounds or go to the Mayans and go to wherever you want to go. You're going to end up in the same place. This is how I've understood things. And if you can attach yourself to an organization, if that's necessary, that at least promotes and furthers this individual, a person's individual connection to eternity. That's what I think it is. I call my romance with eternity happens through conscience, and it develops out of that. And of course, as a painter, I visualize myself not like Alex Gray. I mean, truly gives me the EBGBs, because it. Let me see if I can articulate a little bit of my disgust. It literally is. It's like I feel sick when I look at that stuff. Number one, it pretends to be literal, but in a way that nobody can ever argue with it. Okay? So you're always literal in some way, or the energy centers and everything, but you can't really argue with the picture. But when I say argue, it's like there are no other possibilities other than the way it's presented. Okay? Which is why I prefer to work within my picture making. There's always possibility. There's always some kind of uncertainty in a way that creates possibility. So it's not that I don't feel convinced, or I have conviction in what I do. It's like Picasso said, when I look at your art, I don't want any questions. I want your answers. I get that. I get that. And from the point of view that we're all people who have something to offer, some people are a little better at understanding some things than others. So I can offer something to people that haven't necessarily thought in the way I've thought about it. And I think this is what Picasso was saying, that he had noodled through, he had gone through a whole bunch of shit in order to produce something, especially when he was older. And he said, there's no question for me here, but there's always going to be a question. As long as there's a breath, there's going to be a question in my mind. This is the nature of eternity. This is what I'm connected to. This is what tells me the possible possibilities. The uncertainty has to be there in order for me to feel right, if that makes sense. Okay, I've gone on. I guess it's my position after listening to this Blavatsky uh, dissertation on the nature of our spiritual being and all of that kind of stuff. Oh, fucking hey, go love yourself for having this knowledge. And Ken Wheeler too. Why am I thinking of him? Because he's got the Varavadantas, and he's got the languages, and he's got the ancient script. And you say to yourself, oh, I'm getting a lot of value out of that, and I know how the physical universe works. Yeah, some of it is absolutely brilliant. They're tied into the reality, the consciousness that has created this. Maybe we, as I say, maybe we're creating this continuously. Well, Ken Wheeler, the photographer sage, talks about his enormous uh, uh, background in that lost script. It's not Sanskrit. It's like a language that's being lost. He has brilliant, fabulous, but it's not going to put you on the path you need to be on. You got to have that. You got to have that sweet feeling about being in the right place with this conscience, wherever it exists in us. You got to be in that sweet place, no matter how fucking brilliant you are and how many dancers you can put on a pin. It's irrelevant. I think I'll leave it here. I just got turned on because I am really thinking a lot about this. I'd never really articulated and for myself and questioned that my existence in the way I'm experiencing it should be anything other than it is. And I had always imagined, well, I can be better this way, and this can be better, and that part of, and you adjust and you fix, and it's like the plumbing pipe breaks and you make it better. And, it's like ultimately nothing is fixable. This is the lesson that we get every time through what is understood to be history, whatever that might be. History is not what it appears. So all those things that I was attached to in terms of making a difference, like even through the anti-nuclear stuff, uh, I'm not disparaging or discarding people who are passionate about stuff, but it's not going to change. The reason it can't change is because it's not built to change. It's supposed to be exactly the way it is. And whatever created this realm put in the default mechanisms of beingness the way it is. And there may be nuances. There may be moments of, if you look at, I was talking, I'd mentioned this before, that I had done a show that I called The Soldiers, and I was researching over a period of 6,000 years of so-called recorded history, what is understood to be peaceful coexistence, cumulatively ended up being less than 250 years out of that time. So, the continuous mayhem, destruction, horribleness of, has been there in recorded history. Not sure why the system allows us to understand this, because this is a real revelation. This should be a real revelation that if 98% of the time we mayhem kill barbarously, we kill each other and everything and destroy and create toxins, there's something inherently unfixable if it's lasted 6,000 years. You know what I mean? So that's the premise. And thank you, Howdy, because within his particular understanding, within his what he's able to bring to understand what it is. Anyway, I'll leave it there. I might have some more thoughts on it. I'll leave it there. I got to answer this.